Park wiped the grease from his hands and looked at the pile of broken machines in front of him. Another day at Junkyard Station 47. Another day of fixing things that nobody else wanted to fix. The station floated at the edge of known space, far from the bright lights of the galactic hegemony's capital worlds. It was a place where old ships came to die. Broken vessels, damaged engines, and forgotten technology from 100 different species filled every corner of the massive orbital platform. Had worked here for 6 years. He was one of only 12 humans on a station of 3,000 aliens. Most of them looked down on his species. Humans were newcomers to the galaxy. They had only discovered faster-than-light travel 50 years ago. To species that had ruled the stars for, humans were like children playing with toys they did not understand. But did not care what they thought. He loved machines. He loved understanding how things worked, and he was very, very good at his job. Park, a voice called from behind him. He turned to see walking toward him. She was a communications technician, another human, and one of his few friends on the station. Her dark hair was tied back, and she carried a data pad in her hands. "There is a new shipment in Bay 94, she said. "The supervisor wants you to check it." Nodded and grabbed his tool bag. Bay 94 was on the far side of the station, deep in the oldest section. Most workers avoided that area. The lighting was bad, and the gravity generators sometimes failed without warning. He walked through the narrow corridors, passing aliens of every shape and size. A tall creature clicked its mandibles at him in greeting. A group of small, furry beings scattered out of his way, nodded to each of them but kept moving. When he reached Bay 94, he stopped. The shipment was not what he expected. Instead of the usual collection of damaged fighters and cargo vessels, there was only one ship. It sat alone in the center of the bay, covered in dust and ancient rust. Had never seen anything like it. The ship was not large, maybe 50 meters long. Its hull was made of a strange dark metal that seemed to absorb the light around it. The design was unlike any species he knew. The lines were smooth and flowing, like water frozen in motion. There were no visible weapons, no engine ports, no windows. He walked closer, his heart beating faster. "Beautiful," he whispered. "It is garbage," said a voice behind him. Turned to see Krill standing in the doorway. The engineer was one of the station's senior technicians. His 4 arms were crossed over his chest, and his compound eyes reflected its image 1,000 times. "I examined that wreck 3 years ago," Krill continued. "The systems are dead. The hull material is unknown. The language on the controls cannot be translated. Every expert in the hegemony has looked at it. They all agree. It is worthless." "Then why is it here?" asked. "Because no one will pay to destroy it. The metal does not melt. It does not break. It just sits there taking up space." Krill made a sound of disgust. "The station manager wants you to check if anything inside can be salvaged. Do not waste too much time on it." The left without another word. Stood alone with the ship. He reached out and touched the hull. The metal was cold, but something about it felt alive, like touching the skin of a sleeping animal. He spent the next 3 hours examining every part of the exterior. He found no doors, no hatches, no way inside. But he also found something interesting. The dust on the ship was thick everywhere except for a small section near what might be the front. That section was perfectly clean, as if something had been wiping it. Pressed his palm against the clean spot. Nothing happened. He closed his eyes and pressed harder. Still nothing. He was about to give up when he heard a sound. It was soft, like a heartbeat, coming from deep inside the ship. His eyes flew open. The clean section of hull was glowing faintly, a soft blue light that pulsed in rhythm with the sound. "Hello," said quietly. "I am not going to hurt you." The light grew slightly brighter. That night went to the station's records office. He searched through every database he could access, looking for information about the ship. He found almost nothing, just a single entry from 40 years ago when the ship had first been discovered drifting in empty space. The entry said the ship matched no known design. Its age was estimated at over 1 million years. Every attempt to activate its systems had failed. Read the entry again and again. 1 million years. That was older than any civilization in the galaxy, older than the hegemony itself. The next morning, he went to the station manager's office. "I want to buy the ship in Bay 94, he said. The manager, a large reptilian creature with green scales, laughed. "Buy it, that worthless piece of scrap." "Yes." "Why would you waste your money on something that does not work?" Thought for a moment. "Because everyone says it cannot work. I want to see if they are wrong." The manager laughed again but named a price. It was low, barely more than the cost of disposal. Agreed immediately. It took almost all of his savings. Found him in Bay 94 that evening. He was sitting on the floor next to the ship, making notes in a small book. "I heard what you did," she said. "Everyone is talking about the crazy human who bought alien garbage." "Let them talk," replied without looking up. "That ship has been studied by the greatest engineers in the galaxy. If they could not make it work, what makes you think you can?" He finally looked at her. "They tried to force it to work. They used their most advanced tools, their most powerful computers, but maybe this ship does not respond to force." He touched the hull gently. "Maybe it responds to something else." Shook her head. "You are going to waste months on this, maybe years." "Maybe," agreed, "but I have to try." She sighed and walked away. Turned back to the ship. He placed his hand on the hull again, on the spot that had glowed the night before. He closed his eyes and cleared his mind. He did not think about activating systems or understanding technology. He simply sat there, patient and quiet, like a man waiting for a friend to wake up. An hour passed, then two. Finally, just as he was about to give up for the night, he felt it, a warmth spreading from the hull into his palm. The soft blue light returned, brighter than before. And then, deep within the ship, something hummed to life. "Smiled, there you are," he whispered. "I knew you were not dead. You were just waiting for someone to ask nicely." The ship's hum grew stronger, and for the first time in a million years, the ancient vessel began to wake. 3 weeks passed, and Park barely left Bay 94. He brought a small cot and set it up next to the ship. He ate his meals there. He slept there. Every moment he was not working his regular salvage jobs, he spent with the ancient vessel. The other workers on the station thought he had gone crazy. They whispered about the human who talked to dead machines, but did not care. He was making progress. The ship was waking up slowly, like a person coming out of a deep sleep. Each day, new lights appeared on its hull. Strange symbols glowed in patterns he could not understand, and the hum from inside grew stronger and more steady. Did not use any advanced scanning equipment. He did not try to force open panels or cut through the hull. Instead, he worked the old way. He drew diagrams by hand. He traced the patterns of light with his fingers. He sat for hours just watching and listening. On the 18th day, a door opened. It happened without warning. Was sitting with his back against the hull, eating a simple meal of rice and vegetables, when the metal beside him simply folded away. One moment there was solid wall. The next moment there was an opening. He stood slowly and looked inside. The interior was dark but not empty. Soft lights lined the floor, creating a path deeper into the ship. The air that flowed out was old but clean, like the air in a room that had been sealed for a very long time. Stepped inside. The corridor curved gently, leading him toward what felt like the center of the vessel. The walls were smooth and warm to the touch. More symbols glowed as he passed, as if the ship was lighting his way. He found the control room at the heart of the ship. It was a circular space with a single chair in the center. The walls were covered with screens that showed nothing but darkness. Above the chair, a sphere of crystal hung suspended in the air. Approached the chair but did not sit. He had learned to be patient. He had learned not to take what was not offered. "I am here," he said quietly. "I would like to understand you. Will you help me?" For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the crystal sphere began to glow. Light filled the room. The screens on the walls flickered to life, showing images that moved too fast for to follow. Stars, planets, galaxies, species he had never seen, events from a time before any living memory. A voice spoke directly into his mind. "You are the first in 1 million rotations of this galaxy to enter without force. You are the first to ask instead of demand. Who are you?" His heart was pounding, but he kept his voice steady. "My name is Park. I am a human. I fix broken things." Human, a young species, primitive by the standards of this age. Yet you succeeded where older and stronger races failed. How? Thought about the question. "I do not know. I just treated you the way I would want to be treated, with respect." The voice was silent for a moment. Then it spoke again. "We are the memory of the vessel. We are not alive, but we remember. We were built by those who came before, the ones your galaxy has forgotten. We waited for one who understood that power is not taken, power is given." The door to Bay 94 opened and walked in. She had come to check on, as she did every few days. What she saw made her freeze. The ship was glowing. Every line of its hull was lit with soft blue light. And standing in the open doorway was, his eyes wide with wonder. She called, "What is happening?" He turned to look at her. "The ship is alive. It was always alive. It was just waiting." Before she could respond, another figure appeared behind her. Krill stood in the entrance to the bay, his compound eyes reflecting the ship's light. "Impossible," the whispered. "I examined every system. There was no power, no response, nothing." "You tried to control it," said. "You used scanners and tools and force. But this ship does not respond to those things." "Then what does it respond to?" Smiled, patience, kindness, the willingness to understand instead of dominate. Krill stepped closer, his scientific curiosity overcoming his shock. "May I see inside?" Looked back at the glowing doorway. "I will ask." He closed his eyes and thought the question. To his surprise, he felt an answer. Not words, but a feeling. Caution, but not refusal. "The ship will allow you to look," said. "But do not touch anything, and do not try to take control." Krill nodded and walked slowly toward the entrance. But as he stepped through the doorway, alarm suddenly screamed through the ship. Red light flooded the corridor. That was thrown backward by an invisible force. Rushed to his side. "Are you hurt?" Krill was shaking. "Something scanned me. It looked into my mind. It saw that I wanted to understand the technology, to use it for myself." "And it rejected you?" "Yes," the looked at with new eyes. "What are you, human? What did it see in you that it did not see in me?" Helped him stand. "I do not know. I am just a mechanic. I fix things because I love fixing things. Not for power, not for profit. Just because I think broken things deserve a chance to work again." A new voice spoke from behind them. "That is exactly why the ship chose you." They turned to see a woman standing in the bay entrance. She was human, with short black hair and a pilot's jacket covered in patches. Her eyes moved quickly, taking in everything. "I am," she said. "I heard rumors about a human who woke up a 1,000,000-year-old ship. I had to see for myself." "Who are you?" asked suspiciously. "A pilot. I was stranded here 6 months ago when my ship was impounded for unpaid docking fees. I have been looking for a way off this station ever since." She walked closer, studying the glowing vessel. "And I think I just found it." Shook his head. "This ship is not for sale, and it does not take passengers." "I am not asking to buy it. I am asking to help." Met his eyes. "You are a mechanic. You can make it work. But can you fly it? Can you navigate between stars? Can you handle whatever is waiting out there when people learn what you have? Had not thought that far ahead. He had been so focused on understanding the ship that he had not considered what would happen next. She makes a good point, said quietly. The memory's voice spoke in his mind. This one has no desire for power over others. She seeks only freedom. She may enter. Nodded slowly. The ship will allow you aboard, but understand something. This vessel is not a weapon. It is not a tool for conquest. Whatever we do with it, we do with respect for what it is. Smiled, I can work with that. The four of them stood in the glow of the ancient ship. A mechanic who fixed broken things. A communications tech who never expected adventure. A pilot searching for freedom. And an engineer who had just learned that the universe was bigger than he thought. None of them knew what was coming. None of them knew that word of their discovery would soon spread across the galaxy. None of them knew that powerful forces were already turning their attention toward a forgotten junkyard station at the edge of space. But for now, in that moment, there was only wonder. The ship hummed quietly around them, and somewhere deep in its ancient heart, it felt something it had not felt in a million years. Hoping. The news traveled faster than light. Within days, every communication network in the sector was buzzing with the same story. A human mechanic had awakened an ancient ship that the greatest minds in the galaxy had declared worthless. The impossible had happened in a forgotten junkyard at the edge of space. Park tried to ignore the attention. He spent his days inside the ship, learning its systems, listening to the memory's explanations. But the galaxy would not let him work in peace. Ships began arriving at Junkyard Station 47. Scientists, merchants, treasure hunters, and reporters all wanted to see the miracle vessel. The station manager, who had sold the ship for almost nothing, now demanded to renegotiate the deal. Refused. You sold it to me legally, he said. The ship is mine. You did not tell me it was worth something, the manager shouted. You did not ask, you just wanted it gone. The manager's green scales flushed red with anger, but there was nothing he could do. The sale was recorded. The ship belonged to. But not everyone came with paperwork and complaints. On the 7th day after the ship's awakening, a fleet appeared at the station's sensors. 12 warships, each one carrying the mark of the galactic hegemony. They surrounded the station like predators circling wounded prey. Ran to Bay 94 with the news. Military ships, they are demanding to speak with you. Was inside the ship with, studying the navigation systems. He looked up at words, his face calm but his eyes worried. How many? 12 warships. The lead vessel belongs to someone called Admiral. The memory spoke in his mind. A commander of the hegemony's third fleet, efficient, ruthless. He views all technology as tools for military advantage. Sighed, he had known this moment would come. He just had not expected it so soon. I will speak with him, he said. The communication came through the station's main channel, broadcast to every screen and speaker on the platform. Admiral appeared as a tall reptilian figure in military uniform. His scales were dark gray, almost black, and his eyes were cold yellow slits. I am Admiral of the Galactic Hegemony Third Fleet, he announced. I am addressing the human called Park. You have discovered a vessel of unknown origin with potentially dangerous capabilities. By hegemony law, such discoveries must be surrendered to military authority for evaluation and control. Stood before the communication screen in Bay 94. Behind him, the ancient ship glowed softly. Admiral, I appreciate your concern, but the ship is my legal property. I purchased it through proper channels, and I have no intention of using it for harm. His eyes narrowed. Your intentions are irrelevant. The hegemony cannot allow such power to remain in private hands, especially not the hands of a human. Because humans are primitives, asked quietly. Because humans are unpredictable. You are a young species. You have not learned the discipline required to handle advanced technology. You start wars. You destroy your own worlds. You cannot be trusted. Felt anger rise in his chest, but he pushed it down. Getting angry would not help. Admiral, may I ask you a question? Looked surprised by the request. Speak. This ship sat in this junkyard for 40 years. Before that, it drifted in space for centuries. In all that time, how many hegemony scientists examined it? Dozens, perhaps hundreds. And did any of them make it work? Was silent. They failed because they tried to take control, continued. They saw the ship as a tool to be used, but this vessel was built by a species that valued cooperation over domination. It responds to intentions, not commands. Every attempt to force it only pushed it further away. And you succeeded because you asked nicely. His voice dripped with disbelief. I succeeded because I respected it, because I approached it as a partner, not a possession. The Admiral leaned forward. Pretty words, but they do not change the facts. You have 24 hours to surrender the vessel. If you refuse, I will take it by force, and I will destroy anyone who stands in my way. The communication ended. Turned to find in watching him. Krill stood in the corner, his compound eyes unreadable. What do we do? Asked. We cannot fight 12 warships, said. Even if this ship has weapons, we do not know how to use them. Closed his eyes and reached out to the memory. What can this ship do? What did your builders create it for? The memory's response filled his mind with images. He saw the ancient species, tall and graceful beings made of light and shadow. He saw them building the vessel not as a weapon, but as a guardian. Its purpose was to end conflicts, to protect the innocent, to stand between the helpless and those who would harm them. The ship has the power to reshape matter, the memory explained, to move through space without traveling through it, to create or destroy on a scale that your current civilizations cannot imagine. But it will only use that power in defense, never in conquest, never in anger. Opened his eyes. Can it protect the station? Yes, if you ask it to. He walked to the center of the control room and placed his hand on the crystal sphere. There are 3,000 people on this station. Most of them have nothing to do with our conflict. Admiral threatened to destroy them to get to us. I will not let that happen. What are you asking? I am asking you to protect them, all of them. Can you do that? The memory was quiet for a moment. Then, you would use our power not for yourself but for others, others who have mocked you, others who called you primitive. They do not deserve to die for someone else's greed. Another pause. Then the memory spoke with something like warmth. You are the first keeper since our builders to think of others before yourself. Yes, we will protect them. The ship's hum grew louder. Outside, something impossible began to happen. Admiral watched from his command vessel as energy radiated from the ancient ship. It spread outward like ripples in water, passing through the station's hull, surrounding the entire platform in a sphere of soft blue light. What is that? He demanded. His sensors gave impossible readings. The energy field was not blocking their weapons. It was not even solid in any traditional sense. But every analysis program agreed on one thing: nothing they had could penetrate it. Admiral, one of his officers reported, our targeting systems cannot lock onto anything inside that field. Our weapons would simply pass through it. Then increase power, find a frequency that can break through. They tried everything. Energy weapons, projectiles, even a focused antimatter burst. Nothing worked. The shield absorbed everything without even flickering. Inside the station, people stared at the blue light surrounding them. Many were afraid. But as the hours passed and fleet could do nothing, fear turned to wonder. The impossible ship had done the impossible again. It had extended its protection to cover thousands of people it did not know. And it had done so because one human mechanic had asked. Stood in the control room, exhausted but smiling. "Thank you," he said to the memory. "Do not thank us yet," it replied. "The Admiral will not give up, and there are greater threats in this galaxy than one fleet of warships. You have chosen a difficult path, Keeper." "I know, but it is the right path." Outside, Admiral stared at the glowing station with hatred in his yellow eyes. He had never been like this. He had never failed to take what he wanted. But as he watched the impossible shield hold against his entire fleet, a small voice in the back of his mind whispered something he did not want to hear. Maybe the human was right. Maybe there were kinds of power that force could never claim. He pushed the thought away and began planning his next move. This was not over, not by a long way. The standoff lasted 3 days. Admiral's fleet remained in position around Junkyard Station 47, but his weapons were useless against the ancient ship's shield. Every hour he demanded surrender. Every hour refused. On the 4th day, a new ship arrived. It was small compared to the warships, a simple transport vessel bearing Earth's flag, but its arrival changed everything. "Human military vessel requesting permission to dock," announced from her communication post. Looked up from his work inside the ancient ship. "Let them through." The shield opened just enough to allow the transport to pass, then sealed behind it. Admiral watched with fury as his own ships remained locked outside. The transport carried a single passenger, Commander No of Earth's small interstellar fleet. He was a tall man with gray hair and a face that had seen many battles. He walked into Bay 94 and stopped when he saw the glowing ship. "So the stories are true," he said quietly. Stepped forward. "Commander, I was not expecting anyone from Earth. The government sent me when they heard what happened. A human discovers the most powerful ship in the galaxy, and the hegemony wants to take it by force." His mouth twisted in a bitter smile. "They have been treating us as primitives for 50 years. This is not surprising." "Are you here to help?" Studied carefully. "That depends. What are you planning to do with this ship?" "Protect people, help where I can. The ship was built as a guardian, not a weapon. I want to honor that purpose." The commander nodded slowly. "Good answer, but I need you to understand something. The hegemony is not the biggest threat you face right now." He pulled out a data pad and showed an image. It was a map of the galaxy, and 3 entire sectors were marked in red. "The swarm," said, "a hive mind species from outside our galaxy. They arrived 18 months ago and have been consuming everything in their path. Planets, stations, entire civilizations. The hegemony has thrown everything they have at them. Nothing works." Stared at the map. The red areas were enormous, covering thousands of star systems. "How many people have died?" "Billions, maybe more. We stopped counting." The memory spoke in his mind. "We sense great pain from that direction, great hunger and great fear." Admiral chose that moment to make his announcement. His voice echoed through every speaker on the station. "Human, I have new orders from the Hegemony Council. They are willing to make a deal. Surrender your ship and use its power against the swarm. In return, we will grant you full citizenship in the hegemony and forgive your defiance." Looked at, he wants to use the ship as a weapon. Of course he does. The hegemony is losing the war. They are desperate. The ship was not built for war. Then what was it built for? Thought about everything the memory had shown him. The ancient builders, the architects, had created vessels to end conflicts. But ending a conflict was not the same as destroying an enemy. "I need to see them," he said suddenly. I need to understand what they are." Frowned. "That is a war zone. It is suicide. The ship can protect us. And if it cannot?" Met his eyes. "Then I will have learned something important." Stepped forward. "I am going with you. You need a pilot." "The ship flies itself," said. "Then you need someone to watch your back." Moved to join them but shook his head. "Stay here, keep the shield up, protect the station." You cannot just fly into a war zone. Watch me. Commander studied the young mechanic for a long moment. Then he made a decision. I am coming with you. If this ship really has the power everyone says, I need to see it for myself. And I need to understand what kind of man controls it. Nodded, then let us go. The ancient ship lifted off from Bay 94 without a sound. It passed through its own shield as if the barrier was not there, then hung in space before Admiral's fleet. Stop, the Admiral commanded. You will not leave this area. His voice came through the communication channel, calm and clear. We are going to see the swarm. If you want to help, you can follow. If you want to attack, you will fail. The ship turned and began to move. It did not use engines. It simply accelerated faster and faster until it was a blur of light. Then it was gone. Slammed his fist against his command chair. Track them, follow them. Sir, we cannot. They have moved beyond our sensor range. That is impossible. Nothing can move that fast. But the impossible was happening all around him now, and he was powerless to stop it. The ship traveled through space in a way that did not fully understand. It did not cross the distance between stars. It seemed to step around it, like walking through a door instead of around a mountain. In moments, they were at the edge of the war zone. And saw the horror. Planets hung in space like dead things, their surfaces stripped bare. Empty cities drifted among the debris. Ships of 100 different species floated broken and silent, their crews consumed. And beyond it all, the swarm. It was not an army. It was not even a species in any normal sense. It was a living cloud, billions of creatures moving as one mind. They ranged from things smaller than insects to monsters larger than warships. All of them were hungry. All of them were eating. Turn back, whispered. We cannot fight that. But was not looking at the destruction. He was looking at themselves. He was using the ship's sensors to study them, to understand them. They are starving, he said quietly. What? Look at their biological readings. They are not eating because they want to conquer. They are eating because they have to. Their metabolism is failing. They are dying. The memory confirmed his observation. They come from a galaxy that died long ago. Their home ran out of energy. They crossed the void between galaxies in desperation, hopping to find new resources. What you see is not conquest. It is survival. Stared at the swarm. That does not matter. They have killed billions. I know, and if we destroy them, we kill billions more. Turned to face the commander. The ship can end the right now. It has the power to unmake them completely. But that is not what the architects built it for. Then what do you propose? Looked back at the swarm. Somewhere in that mass of hunger and fear was a mind. A consciousness that controlled everything else. I propose we talk to them, he said. I propose we find out if there is another way. Looked at him like he was insane. Gripped the arms of her pilot chair, ready for anything. But the memory spoke with approval. The keeper chooses understanding over destruction. This is the path of the architects. The ship began to move forward, straight toward the heart of the swarm. You are crazy, said. Smiled slightly. Maybe, but I have to try. Ahead of them, the swarm noticed their approach. Millions of creatures turned to face the tiny ship. Millions of hungry mouths opened wide. And Park flew to meet them without fear. The swarm surrounded the ancient ship like a living storm. Creatures of every size pressed against the vessel's hull, trying to find a way inside. Their hunger was visible in every movement, every desperate scratch and bite. The ship's shields held them back, but could feel their need through the memory's connection. It was not evil, it was not cruelty. It was starvation, pure and terrible and endless. We are going to die here, Commander said. He had drawn his sidearm, though it would be useless against the billions of creatures outside. No, replied, we are going to talk. He sat in the central chair and placed his hands on the crystal sphere. The memory responded immediately, opening a channel that no technology could block. It was a direct link to consciousness itself. Reached out to the swarm. The response was overwhelming. A million voices screamed into his mind at once. Pain, hunger, fear, desperation. He felt this history in a single instant. A galaxy that grew old and cold. Stars that burned out one by one. A species that ate everything to survive, that consumed their own world, their own children, their own future. And then the long journey through the void. Centuries of drifting between galaxies, slowly starving in the dark. The hope when they found new stars. The shame of what they had to do to survive. Pushed through the chaos and found the central mind. It was ancient beyond measure, a consciousness that had watched its people transform from builders and dreamers into endless consuming hunger. It hated what they had become, but it could not let them die. "I understand," said through the link. "You did not choose this." "You cannot understand," the central mind replied. "You have never watched your children starve. You have never eaten your own world. You judge us, but you have never faced what we faced." "I am not judging you. I am trying to help." Silence. The swarm outside stopped moving, every creature frozen as the central mind processed this impossible statement. "Help, you offer help to those who have killed billions. Why?" Thought about his answer carefully. He thought about his own history, about humanity's wars, its cruelty, its capacity for destruction, about how easy it was to become a monster when survival was at stake. "Because I believe that what you do does not have to be what you are. Because I think that if you had another choice, you would take it. We have no other choice. We must eat or die. That is our nature now. What if I could give you another choice?" The memory spoke in his mind. "Keeper, what you are considering will use much of our power. It will be difficult to recover. Can it be done?" "Yes. The architects created us to end conflicts. Sometimes that means defeating enemies, but sometimes it means removing the need for conflict altogether. Turn to and the ship can create something, a self-sustaining energy source, something that can carry with them forever. They would never need to consume again." Stared at him. "You want to save them, after everything they have done." "I want to stop the killing, not by destroying them but by giving them a future." "And if they refuse, if they take your gift and keep consuming anyway?" Looked out at the swarm, millions of creatures, all driven by a hunger they had never asked for. "Then at least I tried." Spoke quietly. "It is worth the risk. If there is any chance this works, it is worth it." Was silent for a long moment, then he put away his weapon. "Do it." Turned back to the crystal sphere. He poured his intention into it, asking the ship to create something that had never existed before. An infinite source of energy, contained in a form that could absorb. A gift that asked nothing in return. The ship began to glow, brighter and brighter, until even the shields became transparent and light flooded out into the swarm. The creatures recoiled at first, afraid of the burning radiance. Then they began to feed. But this was different. This was not consuming and destroying. This was receiving. The energy flowed into them like water into dry earth. Their bodies changed, growing stronger and healthier. The desperate hunger in their movements faded. The central mind reached out to again. "What have you done? I have given you a choice. You do not have to consume anymore. You do not have to destroy. This energy will sustain you forever. What you do next is up to you." The silence that followed stretched for what felt like hours. Then the swarm began to withdraw. They pulled back from the dead systems they had consumed. They gathered together in a great mass, no longer driven by hunger. The central mind looked at through the connection, and for the first time in millions of years, it felt something other than shame. "Why did you do this? We destroyed your kind. We killed billions of the people you share this galaxy with. We deserve death, not salvation." Smiled sadly. Maybe, but I learned something from this ship. Power is not just the ability to destroy, it is also the ability to create, to heal, to give others a chance to be better than they were. Your species is young. How do you know such things? Because we have made terrible mistakes too. We have destroyed and conquered and consumed. But we have also rebuilt and forgiven and grown. I believe that if we could do it, so can you. The central mind was quiet. Then it made a decision that changed the fate of 2 galaxies. We will leave this place. We will find empty space, far from any species. We will remember what you have done, and we will try to become what we were before the hunger took us. The swarm turned and began to move away. Billions of creatures, carrying the gift of infinite energy, heading toward the void between galaxies. Watched them go with tears in his eyes. I never thought I would see this. I never thought it was possible. The ship hung alone in space where the war had been. Its light had faded, its power spent. But inside, the memory spoke with warmth. Well done, Keeper. The architects would be proud. 2 weeks later, returned to Junkyard Station 47. The news of what he had done had spread across the galaxy. The swarm was gone. Billions of lives had been saved. And it had all happened because one human mechanic refused to see destruction as the only answer. Admiral met him at the docking bay. The proud commander looked different now. Smaller somehow, humbled. The Hegemony Council wishes to thank you, he said formally. You have ended a war that was destroying us. I did not do it for thanks. I know that is what makes it remarkable. Paused. I was wrong about your species, perhaps we all were. Nodded but said nothing. Ran to meet him, throwing her arms around him in a hug. You did it, you actually did it. And followed behind, both smiling. The memory spoke privately too. There is something you should know. The architects did not disappear. When they completed their purpose, they evolved beyond physical form. They still exist, watching over this universe. Are you saying goodbye? No, I am saying that your journey is just beginning. Our sensors have detected another vessel like this one, drifting in a distant system. Someone will find it eventually. It would be better if that someone was you. Looked at his friends, at who had believed in him when no one else did, at who had flown with him into certain death, at who had learned that strength could come from mercy. Are you all ready for another adventure? Laughed, you have to ask. They walked back to the ship together. The ancient vessel hummed with renewed energy, ready for whatever came next. The memory spoke one final time, its voice echoing across the docking bay. The galaxy dismissed your species as primitive. They never understood the truth. You are not primitive. You are patient. And patience builds what force never could. Placed his hand on the ship's hull and smiled. Let us go find another abandoned ship, he said. Let us see what else this galaxy forgot. The vessel lifted off and turned toward the distant stars. Behind it, the junkyard station grew small and faded. Ahead lay mysteries older than memory, challenges that would test everything they had learned. But Park was not afraid. He was just a mechanic who fixed broken things, and he had discovered that the universe was full of things that needed fixing. The ship jumped into the light, and its crew sailed forward into a future they would build with their own hands. Together,